You might know all the steps of the Astra Malorum Easter egg, but in this video, I'm giving you the ultimate list of tips and tricks for this Easter egg to make every step a lot quicker and easier, including getting 3 perks on round 2, the easiest way to complete the book statues, the easiest way to defend the Mars teleporter, and some amazing boss fight tricks. There are a ton of great tips in this, so I highly recommend you watch to the end to not miss a single one. Jumping straight in, the first tip you can do immediately on round 2. You've got an option to open the left or the right side of the map, but I definitely recommend you open the right side into Museum Infinitum because there's an Easter egg that you can do to get a free perk on round 2. All you need to do is jump up on this part of the wall to pick up this vinyl record, and then hold up all of round 2's zombies and place the vinyl record here in this player. You'll have a certain amount of time to get melee kills whilst the record is playing a song, and if you take down all of round 2's zombies, when the record ends, it's going to spit out 250 salvage as well as a mystery perk, giving you a free perk for literally opening one door on the map. It's crazy. On top of that, from opening Museum Infinitum, you can literally head right here and melee this cabinet to pick up the rock saw part, so it saves you having to return here and remembering to pick it up in a later part of the game. The next tip is that you can get both parts for the Pack-a-Punch whilst you're making your way to the Pack-a-Punch area. So if we go back and spawn, then head left into the Luminarium, we're going to pick up our first harmonic component part, which can be found on that zombie body there. It can also be found on a zombie body here inside the trap room, and the third and final spot could be by the mystery box location. Then if you head through the museum to Machina Australis, we can get our second Pack-a-Punch piece, which can either be next to the Mars 4-digit code machine, nailed against this box in front of the Arsenal machine, or on the second floor by where you place the planet Neptune. Now you've got both parts, you can make your way to the observatory and then turn on the power, install the components, and defend to get the Pack-a-Punch without having to first come here, then run around and pick up the parts just to come back, saving you some precious time. Another tip that you can do whilst opening the map and getting to Pack-a-Punch and power is to get all 3 of your planet positions. Going left from spawn into the Luminarium, if you make your way to the back, you'll find the piece of paper for one of your planets, which here is the planet Mars with the position, so I can write that down. And when in Machina Australis to get the Pack-a-Punch part, you can also note down your position here, which we've got Saturn. And then finally, when opening to Archive of Orbis towards Pack-a-Punch, you'll find your final position here on this piece of paper, which for me was Neptune, and once you've got them all noted down, you can just make your way to Pack-a-Punch and power. You've avoided having to backtrack later on in the Easter egg quest. Once Pack-a-Punch is activated, Oscar will immediately spawn into the map and he will always be in the spawn room. So whilst opening up to Pack-a-Punch, it's really important to shoot all of the Dark Ether crystals around the map to get some free salvage drops to get you to 500 salvage, so you have cryo freeze straight away. Once you do, you can buy cryo freeze and then shoot 3 crystals around the map. If you're quick enough, Oscar will be in the Museum Infinitum, where with all 3 shards, you can activate the rocket to get the first trap elimination with Oscar done extremely early. Now, typically, you need to wait about 2 rounds or so from your last Oscar takedown for him to respawn, but there are 2 manipulation tricks that will guarantee him to spawn, making the other trap steps incredibly quick. So in this example, I open up the TAC map and you can see that Oscar is not on the map. This all has to do with the sun trap. So in order to activate this, you need to shoot 5 smoking valves in quick succession. However, the trick here is to purposely fail it. And if you shoot 4 out of the 5 valves, by failing it, it will guarantee Oscar to spawn, and he'll spawn right in the observatory dome. Meaning all you need to do is simply wait about 30 seconds or so for the valves to respawn with the smoke, and then shoot all 5 within quick succession to activate the sun trap so it's ready to be activated. And then when it is, look through the telescope viewfinder, place it on the sun, and with that guaranteed Oscar spawn, he will be ready for that trap and for you to complete this extremely quick and easy. At the same time, whilst you're on this step, it's also really useful to quickly look in that viewfinder, and instead of looking at the sun straight away, actually go ahead and look at Mars and note down that 4-digit code in the bottom left, because it will save you having to look in the viewfinder later in your game. The second spawn manipulation for Oscar takes place once you go ahead and shoot the bonnet of Old Tessie for the car battery. When you do this, on the following round, Oscar is guaranteed to spawn. More times than not, will spawn near the Luminarium, making completing the trap step with the Luminarium by placing the wires, the UFO drone, and the car battery nice and quickly. If you've done all 3 of the traps at this point on the 3rd and final trap, Oscar will drop the LGM-1 Wonder Weapon nice and easy. Now at this point, you will have absolutely got your field upgrade charged at this point, and there is a second free perk Easter egg that you can do, and ironically, it's also here in the Luminarium. In this corner of the Luminarium is going to be a bookshelf where at the top will be a vinyl record that you can jump and interact to pick up, and you'll be placing it in this vinyl player here in the corner next to the mystery box location. You want to have a lot of zombies grouped up here, but activate that record player and then use a field upgrade to get as many zombie kills as you can before the music ends. And when it does end, you will get 500 points as well as another mystery perk. And there is one final Easter egg you can do to get a 3rd mystery perk, which involves using equipment. Just like before, you need to pick up 1 record, and this can be found in this box here in Machina Australis. And you'll want to head into Archive of Orbis and interact with this record player here to place it in. For this challenge, you need to get kills with equipment, so Semtexes or anything similar to take out huge groups of zombies is going to be really useful here. And when the record stops playing, you'll be given a random perk as well as a ton of free equipment. And if you do this before round 10, after doing all 3 Oscar traps, you'll have 3 random perks before you can move on to the next main part of the Easter egg. And this next step involves getting our 3 planets from Oscar, which can only happen after round 10 once you've done all 3 traps and have the Wonder Weapon. It might sound like an obvious tip, but you need the Wonder Weapon, otherwise you cannot progress any further, and I know some people will get stuck here. Now I have 2 incredible tricks for getting the code from Oscar, with the first being that when you're above round 10 and you hear Oscar spawn in on the round, you have exactly 2 minutes and 5 seconds of in-game time before Oscar will audibly give you the quote you need for your 3 planets. It's after he says the words elimination 20. So if you want to use this tip, open up the scoreboard and look at the exact time you have currently passed in-game. Add 2 minutes and 5 seconds onto that time and make sure by that additional time you are by Oscar to get those planets by standing behind him. And I know this sounds like a really obvious tip, but you can open up your TAC map to look around the map to find Oscar, and you can ping him, which will track him across the entire map, so you'll always know exactly where he is. The second easiest way to complete this without having to actually count in-game time is to get to the end of the round and have 2 zombies remaining, and then go ahead and buy the Wisp T perk, but you want to make sure that you have the Babysitter augment on it, where once you've bought it and shoot at one of the zombies, it will take down one of the zombies, with the remaining zombie being babysat by Wisp T, so that zombie will stay in place and never move, giving you 10 whole minutes to go around the map to find Oscar and stand behind him until he eventually gives you that planet code. And Oscar will play this narration of the eliminations over and over and over again. So if you've missed the timing, just wait behind him until he gives you it again. Once he has given you the 3 planets, usually you'd have to look at a visual guide or some sort of cheat sheet to know what planets correlate to what number for your code. But thanks to a legendary member in the community called Stellian Clorek, he's created an Easter egg solver website called codzombisolver.com, where you can literally click the 3 planets that were given to you and it will give you your Pack-a-Punch Room terminal code. I'll have a link to his website in the description if you want to go ahead and use it. It is an absolute lifesaver. Now you've put the code in, you've got the key, you've got the saw, you get the brain, do the defense step, and then place the brain down in Machina Australis. It's time to explain how to easily do the book steps. So the screen next to the brain is going to flash a series of different book titles, and you need to memorize what book titles were displayed. Each of the book titles correlates to one of 3 statues in the room, and I'm going to make this extremely easy for you guys if you were still confused by this step. This statue here in the corner on the main floor correlates to the Black Veil, the Moon Directive, and the Musica Universalis. The opposite statue here on the main floor correlates to the books Ashen Bone, The Unknowable Void, and Echoes of Andromeda. And the statue in the corner parallel to the Stamina perk has the books Pyramid of Sidonia, Witchlight Codex, and Silence at Singularity. With this cheat sheet on your screen, all you need to do is write down the book names that are shown in your game, and then for however many book titles match with statue 1, you need to spin the statue that amount of times. Then you look at how many of your book titles match statue 2, and the number of titles that match, you spin spin that second statue that number of times. And then finally, however many book titles match with statue number 3, that's how many times you need to activate statue number 3. So in my game, I had the Black Veil, so that means I spin the first statue once. Then I had Echoes of Andromeda and the Unknowable Void, so I spin that statue twice. Then finally, I had Witchlight Codex and Silence of Singularity, so I moved that final statue twice. It is such a simple step once you understand exactly how it works. But with the hatch now open, we can grab the planet Neptune and we can do that step where we rearrange the planets so that Saturn, Neptune, and Mars are all aligned to the 3 coordinates that you got earlier in your game. But just remember, you cannot do the following teleporter lockdown step until you've got that code of Mars from the telescope and you've put that 4-digit code into the box in Machina Australis. I see so many people forget to do that. The portal lockdown step in the Astra Easter egg, I've seen so many people struggle with, so I'm going to give you the easiest way to complete this. The main objective within this 2 minutes is to defend the portal from the red UFOs that Oscar will be sending out intermittently. And the easiest way to do this is train around Machina Australis, moving between being on the 1st floor and then upstairs to the 2nd floor, and constantly be moving around in a clockwise direction whilst keeping your focus on that teleporter in the middle to hear that sound of a UFO being sent out. If you continuously move in a clockwise direction, hopping between the 1st and 2nd floors, you should only have at max 1 if not 2 zombies that will spawn in front of you. You do not need to take down any zombies during this step. All you need to do is just keep moving around Machina Australis in that clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, destroying any of the red UFOs you see flying towards it with some sort of AR, LMG, marksman rifle, just something that has a decent amount of damage range so that you can destroy them without too much trouble. And if you do this step flawlessly without a single UFO hitting the teleporter, you'll complete this step in 1 minute and 20 seconds. Now that you've been sent to Mars, obviously you're going to pick up the brain and install it in the terminal on the upstairs part of Mars. Now from here, you can immediately start the bird step with the pylons, but I highly advise you wait until you have a new anti-gravity take place before you activate the brain. It's going to make this step a lot easier to actually catch the bird once you get it in. But once you activate the brain, you want to run down to this bottom left window, and I advise throwing a Casimir or a monkey bomb at this point. You can shoot the pylons uninterrupted, going from back right, then back left, then front right, then front left, then finally the pylon above the teleporter. But a trick that I don't see a lot of people know is that you can continuously shoot this pylon above the teleporter and it will keep the bird flying around the map, making it so that you have ample time to grab it in a great spot without it flying away, failing the step and needing you to go to the next round. Now at this point, you're almost on the final step where you now need to have all of the 5 pillars activated by shooting the dials above them all, each with the LGM-1 wonder weapon. But then you need to go back to the Pack-a-Punch and interact with the organ to get your order of 5 symbols that you're going to interact with on the pillar. Now, one method is you can pause the game if you're playing solo whilst you're seeing each symbol to note it down, or take photos of your game screen using your phone as an example. But thanks to the speedrunning legend Kingman, he's created this amazing cheat sheet that shows the positions of all 5 of the symbols. So what I've done here is slightly adapted that cheat sheet to add numbers across each pillar. So instead of you having to remember them by the actual symbol itself, when you're seeing the order at the organ, you can simply just write down the number associated to each of them, so then you can remember the order. Now, one of them is going to be a static image that won't show a symbol. So your order could be something like 1, 5, 2, blank 3, and you know that the blank is going to be symbol number 4, or whatever number is missing from your order of symbols. Because a cheat sheet is so helpful in showing the position of all of the pillars as well as the symbols tied to each, you should be able to do this with 0 stress and be set up ready to activate that boss fight. Now, I have some absolutely incredible tips here for the boss fight, starting with how to bring in a 3 full power without using Gobblegum. And the way to do this is to get C4s from the crafting table and then head into the observatory dome, and right at the back where Pack-a-Punch is, right on this railing, is actually going to be the 3 full power. Normally you would shoot it, but the idea here is we're going to load up a few C4s right by this, so later on during phase 2, 3, or 4, if you need to get your field upgrade back quick and easily, you can simply just activate your C4 to bring the power up directly into the boss fight. It is an absolutely incredible trick. Breaking down the boss fight into all phases, starting with the first one, which is the soul box, the best tip I can give you is to stay on the top floor here, because this is where you're going to get the fastest zombie spawns. You will have to move from one side of the top floor to the other to avoid that laser, but zombies are going to be spawning from the top of the stairs by the teleporter, whereby being up here forces the game to spawn the zombies on the same level as you, making it so they won't spawn on the bottom floor. Once you've gotten enough souls, a really great tip is when you're activating the firing sequence is to jump up and down. Because you'll have anti-gravity for the entire boss fight, this is a really good trick to avoid the zombies from actually hitting you too much whilst you're activating this, because you are in a vulnerable position for a few seconds whilst you're doing this. And I have definitely taken a down or two in my boss fight runs here by not having a great window to activate the firing sequence because there's a ton of zombies. Another great tip, but quite an obvious one, is that the wonder weapon here is one of the best weapons to use in the game for this boss fight, and it has infinite ammo, so you definitely want to bring it in. But it doesn't hurt to bring in a secondary weapon such as a ray gun Mark II, or any of the pistols Pack-a-Punched, along with the equivalent exchange augment on quick revive, so that if you do go down, you'll have 3 revives for absolutely free, making it an absolute lifesaver crutch to have to guarantee you that boss fight completion. Now, you could bring in any sort of lethal and tactical equipment in for this boss fight, but I highly recommend you bring in stim shots. While this may not sound as useful as Casimirs or monkey bombs, there are going to be so many points in this Easter egg boss fight where you aren't going to have any plates. They're very hard to come by, making you a lot more vulnerable to taking damage and losing health. And especially with the boss's slams later on, having stims is absolutely invaluable. Now, I'm sure it's no secret at this point, but Frenzied Guard with the Frenzy Fire augment is pretty busted with the wonder weapon, and this might be nerfed heavily by the time you watch this video. But even if it is nerfed, this is still an invaluable augment to run with any high damage weapon to just pump an insane amount of damage into the boss, and can be combined with that trick to bring the free fall power in so that you have multiple uses of it. But another incredible tip is if you're running this boss fight in co-op, make sure that players have the Ether Shroud field upgrade equipped with the Group Shroud augment equipped. When someone pops their Ether Shroud with Group Shroud, all of you can stand in the center of the arena and just pump so much damage into Calferis, because Calferis and the zombies can't see you. And if everyone in the game has this on, you can rotate between all 4 players popping Ether Shroud one at a time. You can end up being shrouded for most of this boss fight, making it extremely easy to put an insane amount of damage into Calferis and defeat her without any trouble at all, even once Frenzied Guard gets nerfed. Hopefully, with all of the tips shared in this video, you should have no trouble whatsoever beating Astra Malorum on your next attempt. If you know even more useful tips for Astra Malorum that weren't mentioned in this video, then do the community a solid and place it in the comments below. And a big shout out to the entire COD Zombies community, including Scotty Dogs for finding out a lot of the Oscar manipulation tricks, Kingman for the symbols cheat sheet, the majority of the speedrunning communities such as Freckleston, Kingman, and the rest of the speedrun community, and Stellian Cloric for the amazing COD Zombie Solver website. Now you've got all the tips of the Astra Malorum Easter egg. If you need a Easter egg guide to get you all the way through the Easter egg, then check out this video that's appearing on your screen right now for my full tutorial.